The wrestling world just exploded with news that nobody saw coming, and fans are losing their minds right now because Jacob Fatu has officially returned and he's joining Wargames in what could be the most shocking twist of the year. If you're not subscribed yet, you need to hit that button right now because we're breaking down everything that just happened, and trust me, you don't want to miss a single detail of this insane development. This isn't just another return story or another wrestler coming back from injury, because what happened here changes absolutely everything about the landscape of WWE, and particularly what's going on with the Bloodline storyline that has captivated audiences for months now. Jacob Fatu's presence alone was already a game-changer when he first arrived, but his absence left a massive hole that nobody could fill, and now that he's back, the entire dynamic has shifted in ways that nobody could have predicted just days ago. The speculation had been building for weeks, with fans constantly wondering where Fatu was and what his status would be moving forward, because when someone of his caliber disappears from television without explanation, the rumor mill starts spinning out of control. Some people thought he was dealing with an injury that would keep him out for months, while others believed there might be backstage issues or creative disagreements that led to his absence from programming. Social media was flooded with theories, and every single WWE event that passed without Fatu's appearance only intensified the curiosity and concern from the fanbase, who desperately wanted to see him back in action. The Wargames match itself was already shaping up to be something special, with both teams stacking their rosters with top-tier talent and everyone preparing for what would undoubtedly be one of the most brutal and intense matches of the entire year. The traditional Wargames structure with two rings side by side surrounded by a steel cage creates an environment where chaos reigns supreme and careers can be made or broken in a single night. This year's edition was building toward that same level of intensity, but nobody expected the bombshell that would drop when Fatu's music hit and the arena absolutely erupted. Picture the scene for a moment, because this is the kind of moment that wrestling fans will be talking about for years to come and replaying over and over again on social media. The match build had been progressing, with teams being announced and everyone trying to figure out who would have the advantage going into this brutal contest. Promos were being cut and tensions were rising as we got closer to the actual event date. Then out of nowhere, during a segment that was supposed to be straightforward and predictable, the entire building went dark and you could feel the electricity in the air before anyone even knew what was happening. When that music hit, the reaction was instantaneous and deafening, because fans immediately recognized what was about to happen and jumped to their feet in disbelief. Jacob Fatu walked out looking more intense and focused than ever before, with a presence that commanded attention from every single person in that arena. His absence had clearly given him time to heal and prepare mentally for what was coming next, and you could see it in his eyes that he was ready to unleash absolute havoc on anyone who stood in his way. The confidence radiating from him was undeniable, and it sent a clear message that he wasn't just back to participate but to dominate and destroy. The implications of this return go far beyond just adding another body to the match, because Fatu brings a unique skill set and an intensity that elevates everything around him to another level entirely. His in-ring work is absolutely phenomenal, combining power, athleticism, and a mean streak that makes him genuinely dangerous to face. Watching him perform is like watching controlled chaos, because he can hit you with moves that seem impossible for someone his size, and he does it with an aggression that makes every single strike and every single slam look devastating. The other competitors in this match now have to completely reassess their strategies, because having Fatu on one side creates an imbalance that changes everything. The Bloodline storyline has been the backbone of WWE programming for so long now, with layers upon layers of family drama, betrayal, and shifting allegiances keeping fans invested week after week. Roman Reigns built an empire with the undisputed WWE Universal Championship and surrounded himself with family members who would do anything to maintain that power and control. Solo Sikoa stepped up when others fell and tried to carry the torch forward with his own vision of what the Bloodline should represent. Jimmy and GUSO have had their own journeys filled with internal conflict and questions about loyalty that tore at the very fabric of their brotherhood. Jacob Fatu entering this environment brings an unpredictable element, because his allegiances haven't been clearly defined in the traditional sense, and that ambiguity creates fascinating possibilities for where this story goes next. Is he aligned with one faction, or does he have his own agenda that serves his personal interests above family loyalty? The beauty of this situation is that Fatu doesn't need to explain himself through long promos or elaborate justifications, because his actions will speak louder than any words ever could. When he steps into that cage during Wargames, his intentions will become crystal clear through the violence and destruction he unleashes on his opponents. The physicality that Fatu brings cannot be overstated, because this is someone who moves like a cruiserweight despite having the frame and power of a super heavyweight, which creates this incredible combination that's rare in professional wrestling. He can hit moonsaults that leave audiences gasping in amazement, while also delivering Samoan drops and super kicks that knock people into next week. That versatility makes him extremely difficult to prepare for, because you can't game plan against someone who can beat you in so many different ways. Traditional big men might rely on power moves while high flyers stick to aerial attacks, but Fatu seamlessly blends both styles into something that feels fresh and exciting every single time. Wargames has always been about survival and pushing competitors to their absolute limits in an environment designed to inflict maximum damage on everyone involved. The steel cage isn't just a barrier to keep people in, but a weapon that gets used repeatedly throughout the match as bodies get thrown into the unforgiving metal and faces get dragged across the chain link. Having someone like Fatu in that environment elevates the danger factor exponentially because he's not going to hesitate for even a second before using that cage in the most brutal ways imaginable. Tables will be broken, chairs will be bent, and bodies will be battered as he works through his opponents with ruthless efficiency. The timing of this announcement couldn't have been better from a storytelling perspective because it came at exactly the right moment to inject new energy into the build toward Wargames and give fans something completely unexpected to get excited about. Wrestling thrives on these surprise moments when something happens that catches everyone off guard and creates genuine shock value that spreads across social media like wildfire. Within minutes of Fatu's appearance, trending topics were dominated by wrestling discussions and fans were frantically sharing clips and expressing their excitement about what this means for the match and the storyline moving forward. Looking at the match itself now, the dynamics have completely changed because whichever team Fatu is on immediately becomes the favorite to win given his abilities and his track record of destruction. The opposing team has to be looking at this situation with genuine concern because stopping him will require a coordinated effort, and even then there's no guarantee of success. Wargames matches often come down to which team can maintain better cohesion under extreme pressure, and having a weapon like Fatu on your side provides both a psychological advantage and a very real physical one that could prove decisive when everything is on the line. The crowd reactions moving forward are going to be absolutely electric whenever Fatu appears because his return has reinvigorated interest and reminded everyone why he was such a highly anticipated signing in the first place. Before his absence, he was already making an impact and showing glimpses of what he could become, but now with a fresh start and a huge spotlight on him during one of the biggest matches of the year, he has the opportunity to cement his legacy as one of the most dangerous and exciting performers in the entire industry. This is his moment to show the world exactly what he's capable of, and based on everything we've seen from him in the past, there's every reason to believe he's going to deliver something spectacular. The backstage environment must be buzzing right now with everyone talking about what happened and what it means for the upcoming match and beyond. Wrestlers know better than anyone how much impact one person can have on the overall dynamic of a match, especially in something as chaotic as Wargames, where the element of surprise and individual moments of brilliance can shift momentum in an instant. Having Fatu back in the mix means everyone has to elevate their game because he sets a standard of intensity and performance that demands excellence from everyone sharing the ring with him. That competitive atmosphere brings out the best in performers and ultimately creates better matches for the fans who invest their time and money into following the product. The build from here until the actual Wargames match is going to be must-see television because now there are so many questions that need answers and so many potential confrontations that could happen in the coming weeks. How will Fatu's teammates react to his return, and how will they work together as a cohesive unit? What strategies will the opposing team develop to try and neutralize his impact? Will there be additional surprises, or will this be the biggest shock leading into the event? All of these questions create anticipation and keep fans engaged with the storyline as it develops toward its inevitable violent conclusion inside the double cage structure. Jacob Fatu's journey in WWE has been building toward this kind of moment where everything comes together and he gets to showcase himself on one of the biggest stages in wrestling. Wargames provides that platform, and his return ensures that all eyes will be on him when the match happens. The opportunity is there for him to have a star-making performance that elevates his status even further and establishes him as a top-tier talent who belongs in main event conversations moving forward. This isn't just about winning one match, but about making a statement that resonates throughout the entire industry and positions him as someone who can carry major storylines for years to come. The intensity he brings to everything he does translates perfectly to the Wargames environment, where intensity is currency and the most ruthless competitor often emerges victorious. There's no room for hesitation or second-guessing in that match because the moment you show weakness, your opponents will exploit it and make you pay dearly. Fatu doesn't have that problem because hesitation doesn't seem to exist in his vocabulary, and he approaches every situation with a confidence that borders on arrogance but is backed up by undeniable skill and ability. That mental edge combined with his physical tools makes him a complete package that's incredibly difficult to overcome. The wrestling community is united in their excitement about this development regardless of which side of the Bloodline story they support, because everyone recognizes that Fatu's return elevates everything and makes the match instantly more compelling. Debates are already raging online about how the match will unfold and who will emerge victorious now that the lineup has changed so dramatically. Fantasy booking is running wild with fans creating their own versions of how events should play out and which moments they want to see happen when these competitors finally collide inside those steel cages. This moment represents everything great about professional wrestling when done right, with surprises that genuinely shock audiences and create organic excitement that spreads naturally through word of mouth and social media engagement. You can't manufacture these kinds of reactions through forced storytelling or predictable booking because fans can sense authenticity and they respond to it passionately. Jacob Fatu returning to join Wargames is authentic storytelling that makes sense within the context of the larger narrative while also providing that shock value that makes wrestling special and keeps people coming back week after week. Make sure you're subscribed to this channel because we're going to be covering every single development leading up to Wargames and breaking down all the action when the match finally happens, because this is going to be one for the ages that you absolutely cannot afford to miss.